Yes. So it'll get the most views of any of the videos we've done thus far because, as the marketers say, sex sells. But actually, what is sex selling us? It's selling us a lifetime of misery, actually.
Did you say it actually? So you're saying what it's saying?
What?
You said it got the most views, or it's
No, I mean, I'm just predicting it'll get more views than usual because the most popular websites are pornographic websites. The most popular movies and industries are all that which is stimulating sex. Why? Because sex is the foundational desire of materialism, of this material world and body. So anyway, we were talking about this last Bhagavatam class. Before we get into it, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer their respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Radyantasloya Bhadrani, Vidhunoti Saritsatam. Sri Krishna, who is Paramatma, the super soul within the heart of each living entity, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart of material desires of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamash loke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular hearing of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, almost all that's troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed, and love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, established as an irrevocable fact. And since we are going to get into it again, might as well just do our Mangala Charana prayers. Good morning, Craig. Hare Krishna. I'm very happy to see you. One of you can get it up. Maybe you can share the screen.
Shri Guru Shri Uta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatang Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu, Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute, Tapta Kanta, Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhani Sute Devi, Paramami Hari Priye, Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta, Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Pashtatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Anything I will offer my obeisances, my heart, like flowers unto the feet of Sri Guru, I want to offer my obeisances unto our entire Gaudiya Guru Varga that is allowed for this transference of divine knowledge to reach us here. And finally, I want to offer my obeisances unto all of my spiritual brothers and sisters who are joining. Vanchakalpatarubhishta kripatinduvevcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. All right. So, we have been talking about, Prabhupada was talking about sex life. And how sex life is causing us more problems than we can imagine, actually. So, some of you in this life may have already experienced some of the problems. But the main problem is that it's the most binding force that keeps us here in the material world. It's the force that moves the material world, keeps the material world repopulating and regenerating, but it's based off of illusory desire, actually, and so you can actually note how spiritually realized one is by one's deep attraction to sex, actually. So if the attraction is very deep and prominent, then we are less enlightened, and if the attraction has lessened, and then some progressive enlightenment must have come. Not necessarily, but that's usually the symptom. So Prabhupada is going to go into this. We got halfway through last time, but before I kind of cut it short because our Airbnb, it might have just been too overwhelming to just break down that everything that the ordinary person, they care about the most are two things: Hiranyakashipu, gold, and sex. That's what the materialistic person, they care about: wealth and sex. But so to take a person off the street and ram that down their throat the first day you meet them, I was feeling, what, I don't think this is a good idea, so let's just pause here. But now, because you guys you're not people off the street, you're devotees who are trying to make advancement, we have to know the truth. And the truth is that these pursuits of gold and wealth and sex are actually due to a deep illusion. So the verse, the translation we ended with last time: the Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. So remember, Shukadeva Goswami is recommending to Maharaj Parikshit to drop his family life, drop his all kinds of other activities, and to meditate on the Lord, especially the mantra. The Om mantra was the first mantra given. But he was also saying, before that, the most ideal way to spend one's time is to hear about the Lord, and then to in turn glorify what you've heard about the Lord, and this way you'll always remember the Lord. So he's indicating you have 7 days to live. Come here, meditate on the Lord, and just sit and hear. And Maharaj Parikshit actually received perfection, not by doing anything else. He wasn't a great chanter, not kirtan, or he wasn't great with arati or any of these things. He just sat and heard. That's all he had to do, and he perfected his life by just sitting and hearing. So now where are we? The last few verses before this were describing the beauty of the Lord, especially the Narayan form. Remember we chant Narayanam Namaskritya. This is a gradual progression to Krishna and Vrindavan, but we can't just go to Krishna and Vrindavan and storm Vrindavan and take it by force. You will never gain entrance. So we should understand the most relevant forms of the Lord that we can understand, and it's a gradual progression. As our mood matures and we become eligible for the next stage, there is a more sweet form of the Lord available, and it will reach its pinnacle of Krishna and Vrindavan. But for now, we're focusing on with Narayan is here in this portion of the Bhagavatam. So now, So one must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on Him by meditation. So this is necessary to meditate on the Lord. And Prabhupada was talking about, I'll skip through some of the things we already read, the trouble for the impersonalist in trying to meditate. If they don't have a personal form of the Lord to meditate, the meditation path is extremely, extremely, extremely difficult. So that's why Krishna, he recommends the personal form of bhakti. So the process of meditation recommended, we'll start from here. Herein is bhakti yoga, or the process of devotional service after one is liberated from the material conditions. Jnana yoga is the process of liberation from the material conditions. After one is liberated from the conditions of material existence, when one is nivritta, as previously stated herein, or when one is freed from all material necessities, one becomes qualified to discharge the process of bhakti yoga. So this is the prerequisite, is reaching the state of nivritta. You're freed from material necessities. Why? Because you have reached the platform of jnana, where you are no longer, you've distinguished, you fully understood what is spirit, what is matter, and why associate in karma, which is the process of manipulating matter. The jnana yogi doesn't do it anymore. He's reached a level of intelligence where he knows better. So he's actually free. He's free from this entangling process. But anyone who learns this process of yoga, or in specific jnana, becomes eligible for bhakti. So this is, now it doesn't necessarily you have to know all the ins and outs of Sankhya philosophy to engage in bhakti. But from that position, where you're no longer having material necessities. You're not attracted to matter. So what are you attracted to instead? Is spirit. And so the ultimate form of spirit is the Lord. And the highest understanding of the Lord is His personal form and the sweet relationships therein. So this is the process of bhakti yoga. So one becomes qualified to discharge the process of bhakti when one is freed from all material necessities. That means everything's good. There's no, this has to be like this, and this has to be like this has to be like... No, it's good, it's perfect. No more material necessities. You're in the perfect situation. You have your relationship with the Lord, it's perfect. So therefore, bhakti yoga includes jnana yoga, or in other words, the process of pure devotional service, simultaneously serves the purpose of jnana yoga, so it's included. Liberation from material conditions is automatically achieved by the gradual development of pure devotional service. So if you're suffering, there's nothing else you have to do other than just engage in bhakti yoga, because it's automatically included. It's included in the process. So these effects of bhakti yoga are called anartha nivritti. Things which are artificially acquired gradually disappear along with the process of bhakti yoga. So we were talking about this. This is actually a big, heavy subject matter I'm reading right now. But anartha nivritti means the process of getting rid of unwanted things which are obstacles to your bhakti. Baby, please get him on track. Things which are artificially acquired gradually disappear along with the progress of bhakti yoga. Meditation on the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead is the first processional step. Must show its effect by anartha nivritti. So, okay, you can come with me. So, the grossest type of anartha, or the most, condensed form, which binds the conditioned soul in material existence, is sex desire. And this sex desire gradually develops in the union of the male and female. When the male and female are united, the sex desire is further aggravated by the accumulation of buildings, children, friends, relatives, and wealth. When all these are acquired, the conditioned soul becomes overwhelmed by such entanglements and the false sense of egoism, or the sense of myself and mine, becomes prominent, and the sex desire expands to various political, social, altruistic, philanthropic, and many other unwanted engagements, resembling the foam of the sea waves, which becomes very prominent at one time and at the next moment vanishes as quickly as a cloud in the sky. So this sex desire is so prominent that we have a very strong desire for companionship, and then also the enjoying of bodily pleasure, and then the expansions therein, like the babbling of children, and then we want to get a house for them, and then we want to get what did he say, buildings, children, friends, relatives, wealth, and all these things, and you start building your estate and your family dynasty and all these things, and you just get completely lost, just like the bubbles in the sea become foams of the wave, but they're not prominent at all. They're to be, disregarded practically. Okay, bubbles come in and then they disappear. So this is the issue, actually. We're just over and over expanding through, and what's the original problem is our desire for sex. Because what is the sex desire? It's you thinking you're this body, you thinking that your body's senses are your pleasure, and you thinking that engaging with someone else's bodily senses for the ultimate combination of bodily pleasure, because that's what it is, this is the highest goal of your life. But it's due to complete ignorance, because we're not recognizing who we really are, and we're not recognizing who they really are. And so what happens is that people engage in sex life, and then babies come, and then more buildings have to come, and expansing. Stri itself, the woman, the name for woman, it means to expand. So especially for a man, which most of these yoga scriptures are written for, no offense, ladies, but this is the traditional process.
We have skyscrapers.
What's that?
Prabhupada said that's why we have skyscrapers and castles.
Yes,
Men did that because for women.
Yes, and also Prabhupada, I've heard him made some, interesting, funny remarks that the skyscrapers are like the expansions of giant male phalluses, so. Yeah, but because and even what is the most popular form of worship in India is what?
Most popular what?
Form of worship in India? And what's that?
Which demigod?
Yeah. Lord Shiva, right? What is the Shiva Linga? It's a male phallus. Inside the ling is the yoni. It's Shiva and Shakti. That's what it is. So this is the most prominent. This is the real religion of. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter, what is the, they think what's the real religion of the demon? It's sex. Sex is the religion of the demon. So it's.
Even Freud got that one right. He says everything revolves around sex.
Yes, I mean it's obvious, isn't it? It's obvious to anyone who evaluates, even to the demonic. It's obvious that this is the highest purpose of life to them, because they don't have proper knowledge of spirit, nor do they want to acquire knowledge of spirit. They're very happy with being a pig in the mud, and they want to play in the mud. So sex is the mud of this material world. So, and with it, all of the expansions of entanglement into karma come and come and come. And just like the story of Indra dropping down from heaven, I forget the offense he made, but he had to take the birth as a pig, and he got so wrapped up in the sex life of being a pig, and all the little piglets he had, and all the little, things that he had going around. But Lord Brahma, he said, you're Indra, you have an exalted position. Same with us. You're a spirit soul. You have such an exalted position. Why are you putting so much time and energy and wasting your whole life in maintaining the expansion of your sex life? And that's what the home and the hearth and all this is.
Is that the story where Krishna
I don't believe so, but I mean, but even
Moral of the story, so to speak, this is my Maya.
yeah, I mean, but the Maya, the ultimate form of Maya, it's said in the Bhagavatam, is for the man, it's the woman, and and for the woman, it would be conversely the man. So so I'm not exactly sure which, but there are many pastimes how and what's the ultimate bewildering force, and it's sex, and it's the beauty and attraction towards the opposite sex. So we must be very careful. That's why the Vaishnava, we must act in strict maryada. So there's certain etiquettes how male and females, especially where in this ashram we have females living here and we have males living here. We should be extra especially cautious not to find ourselves in any inappropriate dealings. A good rule is often the rule of three should be there. The rule of three where unless it's husband and wife, but we're all obviously not all husband and wife here. So then you should not be alone with another of the opposite sex unless there's at least another present. So this is the ideal. Because why we want to not let the mind, because the mind has a nature, it's enjoyed sex life in so many lifetimes previously, because it's been the prominence of every lifetime is the desire for sex. That's why everyone gets together and has family. And so it's enjoyed that. So just by being alone with a male or female, this is can very naturally happen. So we must be very careful. So, trying our best. And if you do happen to be, alone for service or anything, then you just do the bare necessities for service. Let's say deity worship or something like that, and it's necessary. You're cooking in the kitchen, but not expanding the time spent. So anyway. So, sex, it leads to buildings, children, friends, relatives, and wealth. And then, due to this false sense of egoism, all these things are now mine. I've acquired all these things in this world. And then it can expand out into political movements, social movements, altruism, philanthropy. And so many unwanted material entanglements become prominent, and it's all considered to bubbles in the ocean, foam in the sea, which is practically useless. All of it's useless. So Prabhupada says, the conditioned soul is encircled by such products, as well as products of sex desire, and therefore bhakti yoga leads to gradual evaporation of the sex desire, which is summarized in 3 headings, namely profit, adoration, and distinction. So by engaging in bhakti yoga, the 3 symptoms of sex desire are what? Profit, adoration, and distinction. The strong desire to profit, the strong desire to be adored by others, and the strong desire to distinguish oneself above and mainly above others. And this is not good. All conditioned souls are mad after these different forms of sex desire, and one shall see for himself how much he has been freed from such material hankerings based primarily on the sex desire. How much is one still attracted to sex? Even if one is old, is the mind still meditating in this way? There's a story of Akbar, Prabhupada used to tell. And Akbar had a famous counselor, and he told Akbar, Akbar and him got in a philosophical dispute, And Akbar was, wanted to know, what the main meaning of life is for the common person. And the personality, he said, sex desire. That's the most important thing for them. But Akbar, he couldn't believe it. Probably because he was afflicted by sex desire, because he's a king. But anyway, he couldn't believe it. And he says, I'll prove it to you. I want you and your youngest daughter to come with me to watch the execution of a criminal. And he says, fine, prove this to me. So he takes his youngest daughter and they go to watch an execution of a criminal. And he says, babe, just watch. And as the criminal is passing away, the last moment of his life, I forget why they gave him some last requests. I forget what his last request was, but he stayed the entire time as he was leaving this world. The last gaze, he was looking at the young daughter of the king, because that was the final thing. That was it's the desire. Even when he's about to die, why would that daughter matter to him at all? But because of the strong desire for enjoyment in this way, and this, you could say, the attraction of Maya, the man, he looks towards the woman and the woman looks towards the man. And that was so this is, and that's why people want to be profitable, that's why people want to be adored and be distinguished for sex desire. That's why people, it's not for any other thing, You would say, no, I know very many people, they just want to profit to help others. No. They want to so-called be in a position to help others is because it's it's to distinguish themselves. For the latent problem is that we're all desiring sex and we think this is real happiness. So, all conditioned souls are mad after these different forms of sex desire, and one shall see for himself how much he has been freed from such material hankerings based primarily on the sex desire. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating each morsel of foodstuff, he must similarly be able to see to the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. Meaning we know. Each one of us actually knows how much we really desire sex in our life. I may not know how much you desire sex. You may not know how much I desire sex. But we all each know. We all know. Just like you know if you're hungry or not. If I say, Madhav, come on, will you eat some prasad? And yesterday I was encouraging him to eat prasad he made. He's like, I can't, Prabhu. I can only try the kheer. Because he was already satiated from eating already. So similarly, by bhakti yoga, this is the only thing that actually nourishes this desire, this latent desire, is you have to fill it with the Lord. And when we fill it with the Lord, then we will be full from our desires. We won't be hunger. Because we're desiring happiness, actually. We're desiring real fulfillment. And sex is the illusion of happiness. And all the things that come from sex is the illusion of happiness. But what will actually make one happy is engaging in service to the Lord. So by bhakti yoga, real nourishment, real fulfillment actually happens, and you actually become full. Engaged in bhakti from sex desire. You can test this for yourself. Just get very engaged. Sometimes there's festival weekends, sometimes there's Hari Katha festival, where a great spiritual personality comes. Notice how much I didn't think about sex at all this weekend. I was so engaged in this bhakti, no sex at all, even had any place to enter the mind. It's when I get back to, my dull life that's not so filled with bhakti, then all the desires come, actually. So just see for yourself. Get engaged with bhakti, get very engaged in service, and just see how much you're really thinking about sex. So this is why we want to be as engaged as possible in bhakti yoga, because it actually fills you. It actually fills you from this illusion. So anyway, because bhakti yoga, but that doesn't happen with the karmis, Like they fulfill themselves, their grand spectacles are like weddings and, entertainment, going to a sporting event or something like this. But at the end of the night, if they don't have sex, it's all a failure. You've maybe experienced this before in some previous phase of life. If at the end of the night sex is not had, it was all a failure. It was all a big disappointment. But for the bhakti yogi, it's not like that. There's real fulfillment in the activity. So just see. Because bhakti yoga automatically, by the grace of the Lord, effectively results in knowledge and renunciation, even if the devotee is not materially very well educated. So this actually is given in the Bhagavatam. This analogy is that by the process of bhakti, just like when you eat food, your hunger, your material attachment, your attachment for sex desire will go away. So it's compared to hunger. At the same time, your body will get strong, and that's knowledge will arise. And then at the same time you'll be renounced. And what was the other one? As your devotion increases, just like when you eat food, knowledge and renunciation arise, just like diminishment of your hunger, and the strength of your body increases, and you feel really nourished and satisfied. So all of these things are present when we engage in bhakti, but when we don't engage in bhakti, we have this unshakable hunger for sex life. And this unshakable hunger for, I must find a partner. I must, settle into a family. I must get a home. I must get all these things. But actually, this is the illusion. And ask anybody who's got these things how happy we are with all these things. And it's not anyone's fault. It's not, my wife's wifing wrong because when I'm not completely satisfied in the material world. Or my children are being bad children because I'm not completely satisfied in the material world. No, it's the nature of the material world. It's not satisfying. But we're so much in the illusion. It is satisfying. I swear. These people are they're satisfied. No, they're not satisfied. Your parents are satisfied? No. All your relatives are satisfied? No. They're not fully satisfied. It can't satisfy anybody. It's just an illusion.
Spiritual can't be satisfied by material.
Exactly. How can a spiritual being be satisfied with material? Just like the illusion is given, what's it compared to? A mirage. Can a mirage actually satisfy you? When you're in the desert and you just need a drop of water? Oh, there's water over there, over yonder. And it never comes. Can it satisfy you? It always disappears. When you think, happiness, it's right here. So in sex life, it's like you see, it's the mirage. Yes, happiness is right here. Just when we hit a home, when we have children, when we get married, when all these things, it's right here. It's a never-ending mirage, and it continues on into the older. And if we never take to this process, we die still, like the criminal, still meditating on the sex desire. And I wish I could have enjoyed, this way. And then we get another birth, just so we can enjoy. The Lord fulfills our desire. And then,
a lot of our will attest to this. With all my kids, I use, because it was that idea that, well, if I get this thing, I'm going to be happy.
yes,
Then they get it and they go, no, it's this thing.
yes.
I'm gonna be happy. It's never works.
You'll never get any material desire cannot bring happiness. And so what's the chief is the sex desire and all of the offspring, literal offspring of the sex desire, which is children, hearth, home, family, buildings, all these things. So I hope this isn't shocking to anybody, I hope this isn't oh my God, but I knew it was shocking for our Airbnb when I was going through this, so I was just like, I gotta stop. This has to end here, and she's got to digest what she's already heard. And so anyhow, So effectively, it results in knowledge and renunciation, even if the devotee is not materially very well educated. Knowledge means knowing things as they are, and if by deliberation it is found that there are things which are at all unnecessary, naturally the person who has acquired knowledge leaves aside such unwanted things. Like if you were trying to cross a river and you were trying to carry a big sack of rocks, a person who is knowledgeable, he would not recommend you to cross the river with a big sack of rocks. But if you're carrying all these unwanted rocks, and you can't really expect to cross the river very effectively. So, someone in knowledge, they realize what's unnecessary in life. That's got to go. That is not helpful for my real pursuit of happiness, which is my pursuit in bhakti. And only the Lord can give that happiness. So, when the conditioned soul finds by culture of knowledge that material necessities are unwanted things, he becomes detached from such unwanted things. This stage of knowledge is called vairagya, or detachment from unwanted things. We have previously discussed that the transcendentalist is required to be self-sufficient and should not beg from the rich, blind persons to fulfill the bare necessities of life. Remember, this is talking mainly about the renounced person. But even us, when we're approaching, what do you think getting a job is? What's a job? You're saying, oh, wealthy corporation or a wealthy master. Please, I will do this, and this for you so that you please give me. But these wealthy people are completely blind, chasing the sex desire of this material world. But you're beseeching, I'll do this, and this. I'll bend over backwards. I'll jump through this hoop. I'll do this, and this for you. But actually, we should not be so eager to do this. We should be eager only to have the basic maintenance of life complete. Otherwise, this is all unwanted things. So it's also relevant for the transcendentalists. Which when you become transcendental, you will naturally become detached. You could still work a job and be detached. Bhaktivinoda Thakur did it. But he worked on his terms, and his first priorities was his rich devotional life. And then the job can come in, and it can find its place. But rich devotional life is the topmost goal of life, this process of bhakti. So we should know. So we should not beg from the rich and blind persons to fulfill the bare necessities of life. Shukadev Goswami has suggested some alternatives for the bare necessities of life, namely the problem of eating, sleeping, and shelter. But he has not suggested any alternative for sex satisfaction. Right? He said, what's the use of lavish dishes when you can find the fruits offered in the trees? And then he said, what's the use of a big comfy bed when the comfortable ground, or what's the use of a pillow when you can use the arms? Remember these verses he was saying? And shelter, what's the use of a home when there's caves available? And so, but he's not suggested any alternative for sex satisfaction. One who has the sex desire still with him should not at all try to accept the renounced order of life. For one who has not attained to this stage, there is no question of a renounced order of life. So by the gradual process of devotional service, under the guidance of a proper spiritual master, following the principles of the Bhagavatam, one must be able to at least control the gross sex desire before one accepts the renounced order of life factually. Meaning that this high-class process of renounced bhakti, there's no solution for it if you've not first conquered sex desire. Which is why that sannyas is a very high, the renounced order is a very high for a very highly qualified personality. So we should gradually engage in bhakti, even in the midst of licensed sex desire, with proper wife and proper home and proper engage all these things in Krishna consciousness. So that one day we could properly renounce. Like when we get in our later years, that we'll be eligible and ready to renounce. But we have to start with where we're at, and we have to engage all these things in bhakti for the best of our ability, and slowly all the material desires will get digested, just like your food gets digested and the hunger is no longer there. So purification means getting free gradually from sex desire, and this is attained by meditation on the person of the Lord as described herein. Beginning from the feet. One should not try to go upwards artificially without seeing for himself how much he has been released from the sex desire. The smiling face of the Lord is the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are many upstarts who at once try to begin with the 10th canto, and especially with the 5 chapters which delineate the Rasa Lila of the Lord. This is certainly improper. By such improper study or hearing of Bhagavatam, the material opportunists have played havoc by indulgence in sex life in the name of Bhagavatam. Meaning, because when we learn about Krishna's sex life, because that's what's subject matter in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, if we haven't been freed from sex desire, we'll naturally want to try to have our own sex life. So, that's why this meditation on the feet of the Lord, all the cantos of the Bhagavatam actually represent the body of the Lord. The first and second cantos, which we're in now, represent the 2 feet of the Lord. And as we progress through the cantos, it represents going higher and gazing at the Lord's body higher before you get to that beautiful smiling face. So, yes. So this vilification of Bhagavatam is rendered by the acts of the so-called devotees. One should be free from all kinds of sex desire before he tries to make a show of recital of Bhagavatam. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur clearly defines the import of purification as cessation from sex indulgence. He says, Yatha yatha dish chasudhyati vishaya lampatyang tyajati tatha tatha darayed iti chittashudhi tarat tamyenaiva dhyana tarat tamyam uktam. And as one gets free from the intoxication of sex indulgence by purification of intelligence, one should step forward for the next meditation, or in other words, the progress of meditation on the different limbs of the transcendental body of the Lord should be enhanced in the proportion to the progress of purification of the heart. The conclusion is that those who are still entrapped by sex indulgence should never progress to meditation above the feet of the Lord. Therefore, recital of Srimad Bhagavatam by them should be restricted to the first and second cantos of the great literature. One must complete the purificatory process by assimilating the contents of the first 9 cantos. Then one should be admitted into the realm of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada said this is where we should be. If you have any sex desire, this is the feet of the Lord. The first and second cantos of the Bhagavatam, you must fully integrate all of these things.
So does that mean even keep reading them?
What?
Like if you finish the second canto,
You can
feel that strong, you go back and start again?
Yeah, I would say that makes sense, right? I mean, you could probably go through the whole literature, but they really don't feel like, okay, now my real subject matter of study is now the 10th canto. But if you still have sex desire, you should know that my subject matter, because just reading doesn't guarantee enlightenment, right? It's just kind of gracing the consciousness with the subject matter for as long as your consciousness can hold it. But actually, to really integrate this into one's life requires a very deep study. It might even require that you actually begin reciting it. Like I'm going to be challenged as I'm going through these first 2 cantos to integrate these concepts and principles in our lives as we go through this together in a deeper study. So, and we'll see as the sex desire lessens, then we can go on to the next level. So we should see. You should already notice in your devotional life, if you actually, the mood was devotion, that the sex desire has lessened. But, we have some ideas of devotion in the beginning that may not really be fully devotional. And so, anyhow, you may be tested on how actually, but this is the symptom. If sex desire is there strongly, then go to the feet of the Lord, worship the feet of the Lord, meditate on the feet of the Lord. And how do you do that? You focus on the first 2 cantos of Bhagavatam, which is what we've been doing. And if we do like that over time, and also, which should be said here, very important, Prabhupada said it, where is the spiritual master? He was talking about how important it was for learning these things under the spiritual master. Was it up? Ah, yes. So by the gradual process of devotional service under the guidance of a proper spiritual master and following the principles of the Bhagavatam, one must be able to at least control the gross sex desire before one accepts the renounced order of life, actually. So you're really only going to make real progress is under the guidance of a proper spiritual master. So it's, we can read, we can do anything we want, but unless we really take guidance, and it's not a fashion, I have a guru, I have my guru. It's actually taking guidance from the guru, actually initiating. Actually, Rupa Goswami, it's a good point. Rupa Goswami, he's actually delineated what's the relationship, what in Upadeshamrita, what are the activities on how to associate with the spiritual master. What does he say? You know this verse.
One should be humble. What's that? Yeah, it's the verse you always say. Ask questions, say wrong.
No, that's Bhagavad Gita.
Which one are you talking about?
Upadeshamrita.
Well, there's verse 4, but that's with devotees generally, like any devotees, but...
No, that's about the spiritual master. Yes.
Like,
Dadati pratigranati guyang akyati prichati bhankte bojayate chaiva shadvidhang priti lakshanam. These are the 6 loving, exchanges of love, but the hidden dwani of this, it is exchanging with devotees, you're not wrong. But the hidden dwani is, this is how you exchange with the spiritual master. You provide gifts from the spiritual master. You receive the spiritual gift of knowledge that they're giving you. Guyanga kyati prichati, you reveal your heart to the spiritual master, what you're struggling with, where you're at. Depends also on the spiritual master. I should say for ladies, there may be a different etiquette. It's possible that it may be a different etiquette where it's more proper that the husband may present these things on your behalf and things like that. It's depending on the personality, what the form is, but it may be more appropriate that way. And if there was a woman spiritual master, it may be opposite, that the lady would put it before. This also is possible.
There's also groom after.
Yeah, and there's also, maybe the spiritual master has a wife that you could also approach her, and this is also, and you can that also may be a more appropriate connection. But still, revealing one's heart to the spiritual master, guyang akyati and prichati, and inquiring into the spirit, because the spiritual master will often ask you, well, what is the problem, So it's inquiring and revealing one's heart, not leaving out, being duplicitous. Oh, Guru Maharaj, how do you do this, and this, and this? But you don't want to tell him what's really, in the heart, really troubling you. And like this. And then, Bhankte Bojayate Chaiva, you should feed the spiritual master, and Bojayate, he will give you some remnants. You should take the remnants of the spiritual master. And these are the 6 love, and this is how you'll actually make advancement. This relationship has to be there, actually. This relationship has to be there. So, anyhow. So, very big subject matter. We started a little later, so we'll end a little late. But why don't we do one more verse? Because we never actually did a Sanskrit. Ready? Akai kashongani diyanubhavaye. Padadiyavad Dashitang Gadabrita Jitang Jitang Stanam Apoya Dadaye Parang Parang Shudyati Dir Yatha Yatha Eka Ekasha, one to one or one after another. Angani, limbs. Diya, by attention. Anubhavaya, meditate upon. Pada Adi, legs, etc. Yavat, until. Hasitam, smiling. Gadabrita, the personality of Godhead. Jitam Jitam, gradually controlling the mind. Sthanam, place. Apohya, leaving. Dadayat, meditate upon. Param Param, higher and higher. Shudyati, purified. Dihi, intelligence. Yatha Yatha, as much as. Translation. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and in this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. So, even on our meditation on the deities, we should gradually, our heart should be trying to meditate on the feet of the Lord, feeling ourselves low. We should not try to glance right into the gazing, smiling face of the Lord, feel ourselves eligible or worthy. Especially, having this strong sex desire, we should feel ourselves very low. So similarly of the Bhagavatam, we should not get into the higher subject matters of the Bhagavatam, because you remember the Bhagavatam is Krishna. It's a literary incarnation of Krishna. So we're here approaching Bhagavatam, how? The first 2 cantos through the feet. And so that's what we've been doing here this past 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, as we've been going to the feet of the Lord, this Bhagavatam. So, we should be, this should be our field of study. And it has been our field of study.
You know a story too where a devotee didn't even know what Chaitanya what he looked like because he only looked at his feet?
I don't know. Well, I could tell you this, that Lakshman, when Lakshman was entrusted to take Sita to the forest when she was pregnant, Sita rebuked and chastised him. And she said, "Oh, just see, you look what you've done following this order. Don't you have any compassion in your heart, Lakshman? Couldn't you see that I'm pregnant?" And Lakshman, he very humbly said before Sita, "Of course I could not see that you were pregnant because I've never seen above your feet." And so, because he had proper Maryada etiquette, or because she was Ram, his worshipable Lord's wife, he would never see her above the feet. He would only look at her feet and always feel lowly. So that's the only thing that's coming to my mind. There may be some other pastime.
Yeah, I think there was another one, but forgive me, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't. It's not coming to my mind.
I remember the essence of things.
Yeah. That's okay. As the more you more deeply become immersed in all these things, the essence, all of these things will flow from you. So, Prabhupada is saying, the process of meditation recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam is not to fix one's attention on something impersonal or void. The meditation should concentrate on the person of the Supreme Godhead, either in his Virat Rupa, the gigantic universal form, or in his Sachidananda Vigraha, which is in the Brahma Samhita 5.1. You know this verse? Ishvara Parama Krishna. Yes, what's it mean?
Ishvara Parama Krishna, he's the Ishvar, he's the supreme controller, Krishna.
Yes.
Satchit Ananda Vigraha, his form is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge.
Yes.
Anadir, Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. He's the original primeval Lord Govinda.
Sarva Karanam Karanam means he's the cause of all causes. And Anadir Adir Govinda is Govinda. He is Anadir, he is without beginning, and he is the beginning of all. You know, he's the origin of all. So anyway, this is that verse. And so this is actually the Krishna form mentioned here. But Prabhupada is also saying, what Shukadev Goswami is saying here, you can also meditate on the cosmic universal form of the Lord described in the Bhagavatam, in this whole first chapter of the second canto. So there are authorized descriptions of Vishnu forms, and there are authorized representations of deities in the temples. Thus one can practice meditating upon the deity, concentrating his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, and gradually rising higher and higher up to his smiling face. So this is a great reminder to me, because I often like to look at the deity or paintings, and even when I'm singing I like to meditate on the personalities. But maybe I've been a bit obtrusive to try to look upon Krishna's face. Yes, this is your smiling face is for me. Me and you are on the equal level. We can meet smiling face, but really, Lord, I should look at your feet. So like this is what's recommended here. And then also in the Bhagavatam, one of the good things that I've done in my life is we've taken to this deep study of these first two cantos of the Bhagavatam, and it's essential. You actually want to approach the Lord and his smiling face in the 10th canto. But if you don't really integrate these things, no chance, Prabhupada is saying. And you'll know your progress is how much sex is still, your desire. If the desire is still strong, then no, go back and study. Go back and more deeply study. Hear more from your spiritual master on the subject matter. And so on. So he's saying, according to the Bhagavat school, the Lord's Ras dance is the smiling face of the Lord. Since it is recommended in this verse that one should gradually progress from the lotus feet up to the smiling face, we shall not jump at once to understand the Lord's pastimes in the Ras dance. It is better to practice concentrating our attention by offering flowers and tulsi to the lotus feet of the Lord. In this way, we gradually become purified by the archana process. Even actually every day, 4 leaves I have designated every day, they go to the feet of 4 different deities here. So this is a good process, and Prabhupada is confirming. We address the Lord, bathe him, etc., and all these transcendental activities help us purify our existence. When we reach the higher standard of purification, if we see the smiling face of the Lord or hear the Ras dance pastimes of the Lord, then we can relish his activities. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, the Ras dance pastimes are delineated in the 10th canto, chapters 29 to 34. We should not think that, Rasa Panchadhyaya, those 5 chapters, that's for me, that's my main field of study. If you still have sex desire, go back. Canto 1 and 2, and work your way up. So the more one concentrates on the transcendental form of the Lord, either on the lotus feet, the calves, the thighs, or the chest, the more one becomes purified. In this verse, it is clearly stated, the more the intelligence becomes purified, which means the more one becomes detached from sense gratification. Our intelligence in the present conditioned state of life is impure due to being engaged in sense gratification. The result of meditation on the transcendental form of the Lord will be manifested by one's detachment from sense gratification. Therefore, the ultimate purpose of meditation is purification of one's intelligence. So, the ultimate purpose of meditation is purification of one's intelligence. So, this is what we're doing right now. This is why we're studying the Bhagavatam. This is a meditation on the first canto. It was, I forget which, the right or the left foot of the Lord. Now we're meditating on the left foot of the Lord. These are the subject matters present in the upon gazing at the feet of the Lord. The necessary humility, the necessary surrender that we have to take to approach higher upon the Lord. So those who are too engrossed in sense gratification cannot be allowed to participate in archana, or to touch the transcendental form of the Radha Krishna, or Vishnu deities. What deities are we worshipping here? You know why?
They don't accept it.
Yes. Yes, because we would be making a great offense. We have no offense to anyone, but we have non-initiated devotees here doing practically everything, because of out of necessity, actually. So, and then what's to speak? Even the initiated devotees. And what do you mean? What do I mean by Diksha initiated or Brahman initiated, second initiated? That's the standard to do Archana. But I have everyone doing everything because it's Gauranitai, and that's permittable for Gauranitai. So we should never think that we can worship even Radha Krishna or even the Vishnu deities properly. But Gauranitai, the only bona fide, you could say, Pran Pratishta installed deities here are Gauranitai. And so this should be we should understand we're doing everything for them, and everyone else that's on the altar, by their mercy, they can receive the worship. But we should never expect we can offer that worship. Like when we're cooking for the deities, when we're offering worship, we should not be so crass to think, yes, they're definitely accepting my service. I'm eligible to serve them. Because actually we're not. But Gauranitai, they're the most merciful. They want our service, so we should focus and meditate very deeply on them. And how do we even access Gauranitai? Through the spiritual master. That's why before all Archana processes there, all mantras first go to the spiritual master. Even in our Gayatri mantras, when that becomes relevant in your life, before you can get to the deeper, more confidential Gayatris, meditating on Lord Chaitanya and Radha and Krishna, the Gayatri mantras first go to the spiritual master. So, this is our process. So for them it is better to meditate upon the Virat Rupa of the Lord, like given here in the Bhagavatam, as recommended in the next verse. The impersonalists and voidists are therefore recommended to meditate upon the universal form of the Lord, whereas the devotees are recommended to meditate on the deity worship in the temple. Because the impersonalists and voidists are not sufficiently purified in their spiritual activities. Archana is not meant for them. So Prabhupada was very smart. When he began his process of guiding the Western people, what was his main program? No, that wasn't the main program. Then prasadam, but then he started offering something. His philosophy? What was his philosophy on when he was preaching to the West? It's more obvious than you realize. Yes, but where do you get that philosophy? Bhagavad Gita, yes. He's teaching Bhagavad Gita. Why? What's the subject matter of the Bhagavad Gita? Yes, you're not the body, who you are, who God is, what karma is, what this material is. It's describing what reality is. But then ultimately the conclusion in the 11th chapter is the Virat Rupa, the universal form of the Lord. And for the Western person who, for actually any beginning level person, knowing the almightiness of God has to be done before you can surrender. So, this is important. So, in our life also we might find we don't have the necessary sentiments to meditate on the more intimate forms of the Lord like Radha and Krishna. So, in that way, Prabhupada's saying it may be better to focus on the more universal aspect of the Lord. But, if you have been encouraged to worship Radha and Krishna, which Prabhupada encouraged everyone to do, and if you have developed some devotional sentiment or attachment to wanting to worship them, then they'll of course let you worship. But we should do it properly. It should be done properly. So, but when get the street here, we shouldn't emphasize the deity worship for them. It's not, oh yes, you should be engaged in deity worship and all these things. Yes, they can help cook in the temple and in the kitchen and all these things, no problem. But the main philosophy we want to get them to understand is the greatness of God, or the Virat understanding, that the personality behind reality. So anyway, that's what we should be focusing on. And it's a good meditation for me and trying to share these messages. So, Grantharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ki.
Prabhupada said live on in my books,
Yes.
because that's what his spiritual master wanted him to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should study his books, and when we study his books, then we'll actually take the conclusions of his books and apply. It's so. The Prabhupada is living here by us reading them. So